Montana hospitals are on alert for an imposter tonight. Good evening, I'm Alissa Irei. Health officials are warning medical facilities to be on the lookout for a woman possibly posing as a healthcare worker. If it's possible, the fight for one of Montana's Senate seats is getting uglier. 3 Belgrade men are charged with aggravated burglary after an alleged home invasion early this morning. I'll tell you why a Billings attorney says the federal justice system killed his client. Belgrade firefighters helped a family stop their house from going up in flames this afternoon. Now, a Rehberg campaign spokesperson just told us there is a rumor floating around on Twitter that Rehberg might have been about to deliver a concession speech. He says that is not the case. This evening, we're digging into the background of 39-year-old Jesse Paul Spear. Jesse Antonio joins us now for sports. So 2 days until the Brawl of the Wild, the countdown continues. Just how intense is this rivalry?
I would say it's unbelievable.
I've been fact-checking political ads in the run-up to the general election, and this week I looked at ads targeting the Senate campaigns of Jon Tester and Denny Rehberg for their ties to lobbyists. Crossroads GPS Super PAC paid for the ad attacking Tester. The Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee paid for the ad attacking Rehberg.
But Dennis Rehberg thinks.
I think lobbying is an honorable profession.
That's a secretly taped audio recording of Dennis Rehberg speaking to the American League of Lobbyists last year. I contacted a Rehberg spokesman to verify the tape. He told me the incident, quote, smacks of desperate, dirty politics, end quote, but he did not deny that the recording is real.
Over $600,000 from big oil and gas.
It's true that Dennis Rehberg has received $646,260 from the oil and gas industry since 2000. That's according to the Center for Responsive Politics, a prominent nonpartisan nonprofit research group that tracks political spending.
And Rehberg's voted to give them billions in special tax breaks.
It's true Rehberg voted in favor of energy legislation that provided billions of dollars in tax subsidies to energy companies. I verified this by checking House records through the Library of Congress's online archives.
Tester has taken more money from lobbyists than any other senator running this year.
This is true, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Of current Senate candidates, Jon Tester tops the list when it comes to contributions from registered lobbyists this election cycle. Other senators, such as Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, have higher career totals, but the claim only addresses senators running for re-election this cycle.
He's a top recipient of campaign cash from big banks and credit card companies.
This is also true. According to Federal Election Commission data as compiled by the CFR, Tester ranks second out of all Senate candidates when it comes to contributions from commercial banks in the 2012 cycle. He is number 5 when it comes to donations from credit companies.
And Tester votes with Barack Obama 95% of the time.
That figure comes from the nonpartisan, politically prominent Congressional Quarterly. CQ has been monitoring House and Senate votes for decades, analyzing members' support for the president by tracking issues on which he's taken a clear stance. According to another independent analysis, the Washington Post's U.S. Congress votes, Tester has voted with the Democratic Party 91% of the time. To fact-check these ads, I examined Federal Election Commission data via the Center for Responsive Politics at opensecrets.org. I also dug through House legislation and voting records in the Library of Congress's online archives and referenced nonpartisan reports from PolitiFact.com, factcheck.org, and the Washington Post's U.S. Congress Votes database. The flames of the West Riverside fire have died down, but for Donna Schwartz, the memory still lingers.
I just looked out the window and there was the fire, so I told everybody, run. I grabbed the baby, we ran for the car and left.
The fire drove her out, but Schwartz says it was the smoke that eventually landed her, an asthma sufferer, in the hospital for 3 days.
I just couldn't breathe. I kept getting tighter and tighter. I just didn't have no air.
Schwartz says she tried to avoid some of the smoke by leaving her home here on Tremper Drive for more than a week, staying first with a sister in Garrison and then in a hotel in Missoula. Even so, she ended up on oxygen for the first time in her life.
Oh, it's really slowed me down. A lot of things I just don't do because I have the oxygen tank.
According to the Environmental Protection Agency and the Centers for Disease Control, wildfire smoke can worsen asthma and even cause death.
I really didn't know that it'd be this bad.
Schwartz has now been tied to her oxygen tank for weeks. She visits her doctor soon to see when she can return to breathing on her own. In Missoula, Alissa Irei, NBC Montana. In 2006, retired Marine Eric Hastings visited the Naval Hospital in San Diego. The experience changed his life.
A young Marine who had lost half of his skull. He had lost both legs and part of one hand. And it was in a darkened room, and he wasn't saying anything.
Then and there, Hastings made a promise.
If I can get you out of this hospital and get you to Montana, I can make a difference in your life. And I swore then and there that I would do something to bring him to Montana.
He kept his word.
It was emotionally overwhelming to see him on the river catching fish with a smile on his face.
Warriors in Quiet Waters flies veterans wounded in Iraq or Afghanistan to Bozeman, outfits them, and teaches them to fly fish.
There's a famous quote, and I'm not exactly sure how it goes, but basically what it says is fishing is the exact opposite of combat.
Marine Eric Googe lost his right eye in an IED blast.
It's very calming and relaxing, whereas in combat, you're constantly on edge.
Googe and several other veterans returned to the program this year and brought their wives and girlfriends.
He's everything to me. He's my best friend.
Helen Riddle's husband, Scott, was a combat medic seriously wounded in 2008. Scott's injuries aren't immediately obvious, but they're severe.
He tends to not want to go out very much with other people, but he'll go with me. So the fact that I got to come this year and learn too, now we can go together.
Hastings says that's what it's all about.
Somebody who walks away from here realizing, in many cases, that life is worth living.
Organizers say hundreds of local volunteers give their time, money, and love. It's also attracted the attention of people beyond the banks of Montana's rivers. James Carafano, a military expert at the Heritage Foundation, cites Warriors in Quiet Waters as the gold standard.
Brings you home is when you come back and the community recognizes you and embraces you and you feel worthwhile again. And that's something you can only do on purpose. It just doesn't happen by accident.
It's that purpose that keeps Hastings going.
They don't ask questions, they just do it, and they get hurt in the process. And it's up to these American communities to reintegrate them back into the communities from which they came.
Healing wounds on Montana's waters. On the Yellowstone River, Alissa Irei, NBC Montana.